Welcome, I'm Randy, and this is my whiskey blog, and this is MyWhisky, which is the name of our blog today. We need another Scotch blog like a hole in the head, but what we hope to accomplish today and with the subsequent sessions is to give the layperson an idea, a roadmap, if you will, on how to get a handle on the hobby that we call whiskey, because of the tremendous number of products and channels, and how do you buy it, what do you look for, how do you get a handle on what's good and what's bad. If you may believe it, in 2007 I didn't even own a bottle of single malt or blended Scotch, but in the subsequent years my wife has been a great enabler, and this is where we are. And it dawned on me several weeks ago as I was getting ready for the blog that I will never get through what I currently have, and as a consequence needed to shut down my buying program for a few weeks, I gather. In any event, what we're trying to get through now is where do I get my ideas, how do I get a sense of the industry, how you navigate the industry with the products and the offerings, where do you go. I find that has been very helpful to me is the Malt Whisky Yearbook. It comes out in November on an annual basis. It's Invar Ranjay is the author, and he's been putting this out since 2006. It's a great resource. It gives you a page on all the Scottish distilleries, information on the history, the website, but more importantly, what's helpful is it gives you the range of products, so that if you enjoy Aberlour and you're interested in finding out what other products are in that range, it's found in the Malt Whisky Yearbook. You can go to the website as well, but it's all here. It tells you who the owner is. There are articles in the yearbook as well. They'll have an essay on the industry. From time to time, you'll find articles on peat, casks, Japanese whiskey. They also has in here a section on distilleries across the world, and it will give you information on the industry statistics, what's the most popular, what companies own the most of the distilleries in Scotland, which is Diageo. It owns 28 out of the 100-odd distilleries currently active in Scotland. So it's a great starting point to get an idea on what you want to do. The next step is, if you found something that you like, you need a reference as to whether or not it's any good. I mean, you have your own preferences, but what I have found useful is Jim Murray's Whisky Bible, and he's been producing this for over a decade. He has a 4 criteria and produces a result out of 100, obviously the higher number being the best. He does create some stir in his Whiskey of the Year. Last year was a Canadian product, Northern Rye. This year he went with a bourbon. The last time there was a Scottish malt that he rated #1 was the old Pulteney 21-year-old back in 2012. But in any event, he also has an essay on the state of the industry. He rates the single malts. He does bourbons, blends, Canadian, Japanese, and world whiskeys. He says he's got over 4,600 whiskeys rated. I don't know, if you do the math, how he can possibly do that. But in any event, it's a great, these two are a great foundation to building a good collection. I also have found F. Paul Poucolt's Spirit Journal. It comes out quarterly. This particular issue was the Scotch Whisky Report in 2015. Fabulous. He also has ratings. This particular issue, he just did a little blurb on each of the active distilleries in Scotland, so it's a nice little reference. But he also does other spirits. He does rum and gin and other vodkas, so it comes out quarterly. And there are several magazines that you may find of interest. There is the Whisky Magazine and the Whisky Advocate I have found to be quite helpful. They also have articles, they also have ratings. They're more of a fluff, and you have to take them with a grain of salt, but I do get some great ideas from these magazines as well. All right, one of the fun things I like to do, and I've been doing it for the last 5 years, is I go to the Whisky Fest in New York, and they have 3 other locations. You can go to Whisky Fest in Washington, Chicago, San Francisco. It's fabulous, and it's put on by the company that owns the Whisky Advocate. When I was there recently, I picked up this book by Lou Bryson, autographed by Lou Bryson. And this is a fabulous, fabulous book. It's filled with charts and information, and it's written quite simply. And I do recommend, I have no interest in any of the products we've been talking about. I have no vested interest in any of them. But this is a fabulous book for you, or for a gift for someone who's just getting into whiskey. And then there's a ton of books. I've got a bunch of them. They're all basically the same. They'll give you an introduction to whiskey. They'll have a page or 2 on a particular distillery, and they are interesting and you can enjoy them. Another great book that I do enjoy is the Whiskey Opus, and this one is, again, same format. You've got pictures on the various, in this case here, there's a page on Bushmills. So added information. You get a little bit something different out of all of them, but they're essentially the same. And unlike me, you don't need to buy 10 of them. One at a time is fine. And then, of course, there's some fun books. One that came out recently was 101 Whiskeys to Buy Before You Die. You can look at that one. And this was another very funny book, or very, not funny, but very interesting book, different take on whiskey that I did find of interest. And it did have some interesting things in it if you have the time. So that is the foundation of how I educated myself in terms of what to buy, where to go, get a sense of products, and certainly have evolved over time to get to where I am now, where I have a fairly good sense of, but I'm just scratching the surface. I'm not an investor by any means. I'm not someone who's going to go to auctions and buy stuff. I'm just a simple guy with a little bit of extra money and perhaps too much room in my den for my bottles, and a lovely wife that supports me. And I hope that what I've outlined to you today will give you at least a roadmap on how you can start and get a handle on whiskey and whiskey collecting. Thank you for watching. I hope that what I've shown you today has been some help and some interest to you in your whiskey hobby and collection. Please feel free to share and subscribe. And next week, we'll be discussing the Whiskey Flavor Map.